Sailing forward as if there is no tomorrow. Just you and me, my coffee drinking, tea drinking, water loving friend. Back again with our international art program here. Broadcasting across several mediums here. Platforms, shall we say. My name's Adrian Pocobelli, Artist Journal, April 28th, 2025. A new improvisation, a new week, a new day. What will happen this week? What will happen this show? Let's find out. Your guess is as good as mine. I know what the tabs are, but beyond that, it is all up for grabs here in our virtual conversation of sorts. So let's continue. So look at this. Time, also known as Santiago. I actually saw this, but didn't see this earlier as I was going through my stuff, and then I was like, wait a second, is this the Minecraft inside of basically a Santiago AI abstract, for lack of a better term? Or shall we call it an artified Minecraft? In a sense, taking the style, the abstract style of Santiago, also known as time, and applying it basically to Minecraft. It may be that simple. But what's wonderful about it, and this is this was posted on X, but you see it's clearly, what I would say clearly is AI. When you really zoom in there, I think we can call these AI distortions that you see here. So, and we know that Santiago, also known as Time, has made many works that use AI, many abstracts. So would be no shocker here. But based on just the history as well as just the rendering, so to speak, it does seem as if we have basically an AI-ified, artified portrayal of Minecraft. Now this is interesting because it relates. Remember just last episode, it's talking about the 2D frontal view. We're looking at the bird's eye view and how these were kind of combining in early video games. And how, say, I would make art. Still do. Kind of celebrating, not necessarily the 2D, 3D thing, but really celebrating the game. In a sense, screenshots of video games as kinds of landscapes. Okay, I can feel my nerves getting, like, the excitement just flashing off, at the neurons flashing. And so this seems, something that we could actually put basically in the same show. Maybe 3 rooms later, you're at, okay, there's Pocobelli celebrating the 1980s, Ultima 4, you name it. Pick your, Lode Runner, etc. Karateka, all the classics there. Sneakers, I haven't done that one yet. And here we have basically Minecraft, more like later on in the room, but kind of the same concept, which is instead of, basically using virtual landscapes, so to speak, virtual worlds, rather than the Impressionists, going out en plein air, in fresh air, with their new technology, paints and tubes, and going out to the field and painting quickly before the sun changed or the clouds changed, so they have to move fast, and all of a sudden you have a new art style. Limitations, bringing it back to Bitcoin, limitations creating styles. Instead of going outside en plein air, is this like en plein écran? Is this in plain screen? Is this basically, rather than going towards the external outdoors, nature, we're going into this, the simulation, whatever you want to call it, the digital world, so to speak. Instead of, we're painting the screen. We're painting what we see on the screen. Something I've actually done probably since the outset, seeing the iconography of the screen, particularly the internet, but you can go beyond before, say, these video games, as being potentially the defining visual paradigm of our time to a certain degree. And what I mean by that is the world that we see. I mean, think of how the screen, it's almost become a competing visual portal or visual, world that competes with the outdoors. Not a crazy thought. You hear about people, under 30, their lives are their phones. I think that's true for people over 30 too, by the way. So we're kind of back here, and then so let's bring it back to Santiago. We have this beautiful work, which, is kind of painterly in how it looks, and even that beautiful gray border, I have to say, it looks like a print. This should be printed. In a sense, this could make a beautiful print. And I can see time signing, actually probably Santiago, and then you put the little edition number over here, and all of a sudden you have a nice big work over the couch, and it looks fabulous. Can't you just see it? And what I also love here is you see these little lines, the little blue line, the little orange line? Like, this isn't a uniform orange. It's kind of painterly. Even the sky here seems to have, I'm not sure if it's just me, but kind of looks like a gradient. Even here, the pixels being softened out. This kind of AI distortion, right? This unclear, so to speak, or obfuscated kind of face, even here on the edges. So, I had to do a double take on this one. Very, very interesting. I don't think it's been minted yet. GM, that is from Friday afternoon. So much has happened, my friends, since the last time we spoke. I mean, it's quite astonishing, isn't it? This came out April 26th, and unbelievably, wait till you see how much this went for. This went to Absurdity for 17 Tezos, this one of one. So credit, diligence as a collector there on Absurdity's part really paid off here, as well as starting the auction. And then the auction sometimes is where you get the greatest deals, because sometimes people just forget. And before you know it, you have picked up a Santiago edgy, very cool, very, very cool, cutting edge one of one for $8, $9.72. Gotta feel good about that one. Me learning. So again, what do we see here? And the reason I think this is Minecraft is not because I'm a Minecraft expert, but because I think Santiago referred to Minecraft in an earlier tweet. I remember something about this, something about my kids, and I think so I think it's Minecraft. I'm not an expert. I've seen it on YouTube, interestingly, of all places, a few times. Again, and thought experiment. Imagine this on your wall. You have a big living room above the couch. I mean, it's a centerpiece. Like, it's kind of like, it's a conversation piece. It's what's going on here, right? And oh, by the way, it's like this AI abstract artist you have out of, Uruguay, with his Minecraft. I mean, it's got it all. It's got a story. All it needs, frankly, is an edition number and a signature, at least for the physical. So, continues to be interesting. Even the screen, it kind of looked like these wheat fields here. It doesn't even matter. Me learning, cool title. Me glitched Minecraft AIs, so more evidence. And so this is an edition of 20 for 5 Tezos, still available. And so it continues here. Glitched AI Minecraft. And you can even see the little Minecraft pixels here. And we're kind of back to video games, interestingly. Interestingly, glitched Minecraft AI. How many are left here? There's 18 left. Well, I may have to help that one along after, should I remember, after the show. Now, this one I believe we looked at. This one I think we looked at maybe on X, and remember, because I remember this, where it's almost screen printy. Right, in the colors that are over top, that are overlapping. It looks like screen print style here. And we've seen a little bit of that from Santiago. This is almost more the vector style. And interestingly here, It's almost like you have, is this messaging? Is this some sort of X interface? Is this messaging within Minecraft that I might not know about? So this is this is from April 22nd. So almost, you're seeing, I mean, this is how fast things evolve in the digital space, because all of a sudden it's like Santiago's already evolved the style, potentially. Maybe we'll go back to this vector-based one, but you see how fast things evolve here. We're talking days, like not even a week, and things are evolving. So quite interesting. Here's April 28th. This is this morning. Survival. This is gorgeous. So Santiago on a roll here. Some noise here. Who knows? Who knows what's going on here? I know it's beautiful, though. Check this out. Glitched on Audacity. Imported as raw data. And echo was added to the data sound strip. Inkscape vectorized image of an AI blend of game screenshots and image-to-image AI. And you know what I just realized? Do you see that? Is this Minecraft? Is this another Minecraft work, but so abstracted? So, even these lines up here, all of it, these things look like drips. It's like digital drips. Fascinating. Edition of 1, 50 Tezos at auction. So this is awesome. Now this is also Time, also known as Santiago, the artist formerly known as Santiago. So another interesting work. So all of a sudden, it's, slow progress, and all of a sudden it's like, bam, big leaps are made. And what's interesting is when you study evolution, or, the human prehistory, which I'm listening to a wonderful lecture series on the great courses on human prehistory. And you see evolution, it's not like this gradual thing. It's this bam, 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 in terms of the changing of when things change. It's not like some gradual, the head gets bigger. It's like, bam, all of a sudden the head starts to get much bigger. And this sort of thing. So it's kind of interesting because I think we see an analogous thing here going on in art. And, art to a certain degree, to speak very abstractly, to me is a child of nature. In a sense, we're following nature's orders here, but they're not in English, is almost how I would characterize, the missions that many of us feel like we're on. At least speaking for myself. I feel there's nature's mission. I don't know how to put it in English, though. And so, whatever, let's continue here. So here is the physical. So, aphysical by Santiago, and I think this is important, almost like pixels, almost like human pixels. And I think it's important that these innovations are happening from someone who's also working physically. And here, you could argue that this is a picture of a physical, and what I start asking myself is, was that used as part of the inspiration? Maybe the AI used it for this, right? So the mind, it's kind of amazing. So another amazing weekend, shall we say, over in digital artland on Art on the Blockchain. Big thank you. So I put out a couple of works here. This is the green version. This is the first one I made. And so this is 11 Natural Foods to Prevent Cancer. This is broccoli. Subtitle is broccoli. I put that there in case people couldn't tell it was broccoli, just in case. So big thank you. I put out this version here, and then I also put out an alt version, slightly different colors. And I almost replaced the first one with this one. I couldn't decide. Then I just thought, you know what? I'll just do 2 editions. And no one had bought the first one yet. So I was like, I can still put out a different version and do my edition of 15, 10 of one, 5 of the other, and see what happens. And so thank you all. Thrilling. It's always thrilling to sell out. And now, yes, it continues, my friends. So thank you for the support. Let's look at last show here. Let us put this on. There we go. So the internet may be slow here, so we have to just do what we can here. Ed Marola. Thank you for the mention, and just wonderful to hear from you, Ed. Wonderful artist there out of Brazil. Nicholas Dietrich, thanks for the mention, Adrian, and great show as always. Brilliant Ex-Mortal piece. Yeah, what a work. I'm still discovering works from the Arcadia series. I mean, there's just so much. But that one, yeah, I think a lot of people were that was a head turner. A lot of people impressed by that work. Sabato's Archangel Refresh is also wonderful. Indeed, and we're going to see a different version today. Just pure infinite ambience of the sublime through a delicious palette. Yeah, and that was cool how Sabato really made it his own with doing the game that he likes and then incorporating the water. So that was, I agree. I thought that was wonderful, to use your word there, Nicholas Dietrich. We actually have a work by Nicholas Dietrich this show, excitingly. Illusion T Soul, Time was one of my first follows, so the artist we just looked at, and encouraged joining Tezos. Him, Napoleon, and Space Doctor, the Warm community was an amazing start. So someone else basically saying how Santiago, the person who we started with here, also encouraged them. So a big, a pillar, you might say, of the Tezos community there. Also, I think it's very important to try to focus on your process of art, not on how others are making work. Right, referring, I think, to the comment from Musty. It's good to create homage for artists you love and make that clear, but also make your own work. And I think that's important that you emphasize it. Ultimately, you want to be known for making your own work. And there's, exactly, I think well put. It's really important. And the reason why it's important and what Musty might not realize, I'm not sure if Musty is newer here or not, is there is a lot of copying. And so you don't want to be lumped in with copying because it's just not great PR, as I was saying earlier. Let's continue. Lips in Black, I could start watching Pocobelli on YouTube as well. Well, please do. That would be wonderful. This is great stuff. Thank you, Lips in Black. Great to hear from you, and thanks for the good vibes. Also on X, thank you for the wonderful response here. Another big show on X. Ebzer Deity, fantastic episode. Not at all biased by your featuring the mind-blowing art of Ex-Mortal that happens to now be in my vault. So, Ebzer Deity on a roll and on collecting here. Have a great weekend. Looking forward to Mondays again. Thanks to you. Well, thank you. See, I am capable of a short post. Much appreciated. And I think the artists at the end will also appreciate that. Ebzer Deity, great to hear from you. And congratulations on that auction that we just saw you won from Santiago. Santiago's work. Oblivion Fields, I can't thank you enough for mentioning my work on the show. Well, we have a couple more, my friend. I couldn't get... You're doing brilliant work, Oblivion Fields, from over here. I couldn't get this piece small enough to fit on chain, but pursuing the tiny file size is part of my process now. It leads to some interesting pixelation and textures. I think Object just loads SVG files kind of slow. I think you might be onto something there. It's the format, which is why it loads in the corner and then loads bigger. So I guess we'll see again. This episode, Limbo. Amazing, Adrian. Just started watching the episode and I love what you said about the language of 2D graphics. It kind of reminds me of ancient Egyptian art and hieroglyphics in a sense. Hellenic vase decorations too. All cases where limitations contribute to the style's economy. Isn't this interesting? Interesting, which is the notion that, which I just don't remember learning anywhere, which is why I think it's interesting. Maybe there's books written on this. I'm not sure. But this notion of limitation bringing about style is quite interesting because I think to Limbo's point, this is a consistent pattern or problem that we see or consistent, thing that happens throughout history. Very interesting on the hieroglyphics as well, or the hieroglyphs. Now, there are scholars who will call them hieroglyphics. Interestingly, if you watch the great courses, I think it's called Ancient Egypt by Bob Breyer, one of the great classics of the great courses. He calls them hieroglyphs, interestingly, and you can say something is hieroglyphic, but so just an interesting little tidbit there. But your larger point is not missed here in the sense that it seems to be taking from different angles and almost using there is something kind of, and we brought this up with Mech maybe a couple of years ago, how there's almost something kind of hieroglyphic about using kind of what you might call, say, the sprite tiles in that pixel art program, Sprite, and then using the tiling and then making, there's something kind of hieroglyphic about it. It's like a stamp, right? And I was bringing this up maybe again a couple of years ago. So all to say, thank you for the comment and very interesting. Glad you're enjoying that. Very interesting discussion. X-Mortal, great episode. So awesome to hear from X-Mortal, the brilliant artist behind this work here. A great episode. I really agree with so many things you said here, not just about my work, but throughout this episode. Really appreciate that you take the time to dig a little deeper, Poco. Thank you, X, and just wonderful to hear from you. We did a great space with X-Mortal maybe 4 or 5 months ago. I need to put these online. Demon Ego, great episode as always. Happy to meet some new artists, and thanks to you, and thank you for showing my work. Thank you, Demon Ego. Wonderful work there, and good to see you on Tezos there. Walk. Great, just fork and knife, awesome, delicious. Ilya Barabin, yo, Pocobelli, you cool, awesome. Alcrego, great to hear from you. We have a couple more comments. Alcrego, very quotable, isn't he? Wojak, absolutely bonkers. The works on this episode, enjoyed it. Yeah, I got a few comments like that. The art really kind of blew people away last episode. I mean, that opener. I mean, what a piece. Collector Official, great to hear from you. CIA Sympathizer, love you. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Thank you, CIA. Jan Lucas Magone, wonderful journal. Amelia Versace, great episode. Yo-ao, great. Mr. K, awesome. Coffee and Pocobelli, Pedro Jose, welcome. And Martin Bruce, awesome to hear from you. Not a number. Thanks a lot for sharing our Nekogotchi. By the way, it's interactive. You can click on the buttons. Cool. I think I figured that out after. That was the Manadol work. I figured that out afterwards, and I never tried it, but I was like, yeah. So thank you for that. Nostalgia Unlimited, great episode, and Tigo, great video. If you can, check out my NFT debut in the blockchain. Excellent. Well, that is what the community is for, my friend. So Artno, who is early kind of pioneer on the NFT technology. Hot take, if your NFTs aren't stolen by a scammer, then they'll likely break from link rot. Too much effort went into building marketplaces for selling and not enough went into protecting artists and collectors. Now, yeah, so IPFS, we're kind of back to this thing. Now, my understanding, why aren't people using Arweave? Because Arweave, from my understanding, doesn't go away. At least when I was kind of asking ChatGPT, it was like, no, use Arweave. So why aren't people using Arweave? And maybe it's more expensive, but aren't people willing to pay a little bit more? So just kind of interesting. Interesting take. Another reason, I guess, to just kind of back up your collection however you can. Rob to the Moon, if you want to make real impact as a creator, collector, or curator, there's no better place than Tezos right now. It's the land of opportunity. At Tezos and Bitcoin, I would add, but basically, yeah. And of course, Rob works for Tezos, so that should be kept in mind as well. But it's hard to disagree, with this thought. And it's sort of like, despite this comment here, I would call it the most open, easiest scene to crack that you're ever going to find. Now, here's a different view. David. Hard to admit, but Tez art scene is also a inner circle with influencers and favorites and all that. So it's interesting. Tez art scene is also an inner circle. I don't really get that impression. I mean, maybe people think that the people I show on this show is a kind of inner circle, but it's an interesting thing, right? Just so people understand what goes through my head. Because people say, oh, well, why aren't you showing this? Why aren't you showing that? Right? Why not? And what I am, part of my mission to myself as far as a curation, what I do is I imagine an 80-year-old art collector in New York who has collected art their entire lives and is now me presenting, and they happen to come across my video. And so the way I go about this is really about, this has to be the best art I can find. And so, or at least I have to be able to make a persuasive case to that person. So if I start showing stuff out of charity or out of even inner circle, I can't do that as far as my mission, because then 80-year-old art collector is going to go, yeah, they're going to probably think the same thing that they probably think about a lot of crypto art. which is, that's great, but it doesn't appeal to me. Right. And I don't want to get lumped in. Already, crypto art has a, checkered reputation from an artistic perspective among the general public who consumes art. OK, when I say again that I do art on the blockchain, they put all of these associations and they go, great, I don't need to watch that because that art is not my thing, is how they're thinking about it. So, which is part of why I'm very kind of adamant about separating art on the blockchain from crypto art. Because crypto art, again, is art that is embraced by the crypto culture. And that is different. There is overlap, but it's different, generally speaking, from artists who are basically using the same technology, but doing it towards their own ends. So, and there is crossover among collectors, and most collectors on buying art on the blockchain have bought crypto. You have to. Right, so there's going to be overlap, but generally speaking, these are separate. Now, as far as I don't think you're going to find a more open scene though than this scene. So if this scene is too closed, I don't know, what scene is going to be more open than this. We have new people constantly coming in, like at Oblivion Fields. Where was Oblivion Fields 6 months ago? Maybe they're around, but as far as this show, I didn't see them. Now it's like, oh, cool. So it's really, again, that is how I think about this stuff, just so you know, and maybe you're talking about something else. It has nothing to do with me. So who knows? Let's continue. Estelle Flores, all these influencers will become artists in a few years. And I kind of like this thought. Just kind of a cool thought from Estelle Flores, and maybe nothing more needs to be said. All these influencers becoming artists. Cool take. Nico, might be an insane take, but genuinely believes some of the greatest crypto apps ever will be built this cycle. And my spider sense is also getting this because I'm starting to get ideas. And now the coding is getting easy enough with these coders that all of a sudden everything, I think this person is right, this Nico person, because of these coding tools through AI, where you can just start saying, okay, create a MetaMask login. Okay, create this and that. Seems like energy is shifting from infra to apps, which feels long overdue in my opinion. From infrastructure to apps. So very interesting, and I would not be surprised to see real products start coming out here. Art-based and otherwise. Let's continue. El Crego with another take here. Crypto art made people believe that anybody could be the next Picasso, Dali, or Banksy, just because random people with a lot of money bought random things by random big amounts, and of course not based on artistic value, but as a blind attempt of creating artists, quote unquote, to later benefit from them. But sorry, nobody here is the next Picasso, Dali, or Banksy, and we can all see and confirm day by day that these random guys with a lot of money have left. These supposed grails got rusted in a couple of years, platforms who promised the next step of art have vanished, and all these illusory and fake narratives, never created by artists but by self-proclaimed curators, part of companies, are slowly losing sense. Another way of putting this is something I've been mentioning the last few shows, which is time is going to do its thing. And it's quite interesting. Like, again, you think of the Taschen book, and what time will do to the Taschen book is going to be very interesting to watch. Let's continue to overgeneralize, because there are many artists in there. Go out of this echo chamber of this jail, talk with people, and realized almost nobody knows what we do here, who we are, and where these things are going, nor where they come from. Nobody wants to be part of a culture where everything is centralized. This is the huge irony. This is the huge irony of gated platforms and just, this whole idea of there's something very centralized about the crypto art scene. Interestingly, nobody wants to be part of a culture where everything is centralized, tied, and orchestrated around the same actors over and over again. Well put. Because people don't see a chance. Not even to develop and grow, but also in many cases to even start. So what I would say to David Noon is you're not going to find better. You're not going to find better grounds, though, than Tezos. Nothing is perfect. right? But you're not going to find a better place to start, at least, because people don't see a chance to develop or grow or even start. In a jail, as in a sect, you can move, yes, but only inside the limits drawn by those who dictate the rules. What was supposed to be a movement to empower and to allow independent artists to do their job has turned into a machine that is used to kill them. The walls of crypto art must fall. This is where I'd kind of defer. I say the walls of crypto art are perfect, and they can all stay over the crypto culture. It's just its thing. It can embrace the art, and it's kind of about speculation, and also about art that the crypto scene likes, and that's great. I see no problem with the walls. I think the walls are maybe good. It's art on the, again, it's like art on the blockchain is kind of where I'm at, which I see as a separate thing that overlaps slightly in specific cases with crypto art. Cosmo de Medici. Few see it yet, but when you look closer, it's undeniable. Right now is the greatest risk-adjusted moment, very financial term here, risk-adjusted moment in history to acquire crypto art, and possibly the last window to do so before the market changes forever. It's better than 2021 when all eyes were on it but prices had soared, better than 2018 when no one was watching, and would they ever be? Better than 2023 when most eyes had turned away, true believers remained but new energy had vanished. Better than 2024 when regulators tried to crush crypto entirely and our art along with it. Now in 2025, nearly all top-tier museums on board. That's an interesting question. I'm not sure. New patrons arriving with war chests, possible. Crypto King made at the highest levels of world government, true. Art being placed in the permanent, not a king, but maybe acts like one. Art being placed in the permanent collections of museums, creating end-of-line and declining supply. Art being placed in the permanent collection, creating end-of-line. Okay, so your supply is going, lending markets against Grail, one of ones and editions formed and evolving, foundations and DAOs formed to champion the consensus around top one of one artists gives safer collection, maybe for crypto art, but not for art on the blockchain, is what I would say. And again, it's an important distinction. Digital galleries and artists in resident programs help those discover and invest in the next wave. Digital work or on face melting screens in the MoMA onboards new patrons. Entire museums built to house digital works and keeps bringing new eyeballs. So mesmerizing one of one art behind the hottest DJ on the, and perhaps most monumental of all, Crypto King made as an industry means a continuous creation of crypto whales and now until forever who will likely prefer their native artifacts. So it's kind of all over the place, to be super blunt about it. And yeah, again, this is crypto art that is being discussed here. So it's from a very, I would say, walled in perspective here. And this whole idea that there's a consensus, maybe for crypto art, there's a consensus. I think that's fair. But not for art on the blockchain, is how I'd put it. 69% of collectors say lack of transparency has kept them from buying art. This is interesting because I think that almost sounds like a low number because it's true. Like when you see the inquire button on a work of art, so another poll or survey from Artsy, when you see an inquire button, how often do you act on that? Whereas on Object, for example, I see buy now. This is how much it's going to be. I'll buy it. But if I had to email someone, I probably wouldn't buy anything. I probably wouldn't have an art collection. So it's kind of interesting. Transparency, and here you have transparency, provenance. In terms of artwork prices, provenance and additional information remains a key factor for art collectors when it comes to purchasing decisions. Yeah, because you're spending real money on the very, is it going to be worth anything even? So you kind of want to know that you're not being taken. When asked what the art market and galleries could do to make art collecting easier, most collectors said they should improve transparency in artwork pricing. Exactly, and when you're not being transparent, for what reason? A need for greater transparency is being recognized by galleries. Some 62% said they felt transparency was very important to their collectors. Only 62%. And let us see, and our internet, I think we're doing okay here. But let us see. Yeah, let me just connect to the phone so that we have something here. Here we go. It was just slow. Let's see. And finally, let's just see. Okay. So just another version of that survey. Let's continue. Now, Ed Marola, I want to make sure Ed Marola gets credit for this, but was mentioning the heavy painting app. And does look quite interesting. This was posted by the Heavy Painting app and Heavy Poly. Not sure what that is. Maybe an artist. Pretty interesting. Heavy Painting app. So a new app here to test out. Udo in the middle of selling NFTs online, and look at the crazy frame here. I'm not sure if we've seen that before, but I think we've seen the work was, I believe, part of Art of the Millennium. So interesting use of screens here from Udo. Here's her Meep. More interesting physical works. Do we have any details here? Perfect for a Pokemon card case. So almost looking like a sticker that goes on top of the Pokemon card case. So Hermipe continuing to have fun with putting, look at this beautiful thing though. I mean, again, these could be made into art pieces here. Let's continue. Dan Control, look at how beautiful. You see this? These are Dan Control's paintings. They look fabulous. They're framed. And look at where they are being shown in Gaeta, Italy. Gaeta, Italy. Oh, beautiful. What a beautiful landscape. Italy is so beautiful. This was super interesting too. Enigmatris process for bull. So here is the original. And then you see all of the different renderings that Enigmatris makes, and then comes up, this looks like the final result. Interestingly, I believe. So super interesting here. Prince of Persia, Super Nintendo animated assets modified by ASCII. So more video games. Prince of Persia turned into an ASCII animation. And again, look at how each is rendered differently. So a beautiful, angle or way of approaching, a beautiful approach of the GIF to the GIF, as you see here, and the color changing. So using all the different versions that come up and putting in one GIF. Here's another one. So very interesting. Look at how, again, Enigmatris. How many followers does Enigmatris have? 22,000. Growing quite strongly. Here's another beautiful work. This looks like a still, also from Enigmatris. And look at this interesting blue that is just put across. So wild work here. And you see the dragon seems to be repeated, but at an angle. Not sure what's going on there. Very interesting. John Provencher. This was rad. So posting, look at 250 retweets. That's wild. Look at this. Has actually a pretty big following. I think, as we're going to see on Instagram, something like 22,000. So here you see what looks like someone serving at tennis and using this kind of rasterized style here. Love the color. This neon pink and white, and using white on top of the neon pink. Very beautiful work. Now, it's hard to tell. Like, is this how these relate? But it almost doesn't matter. You see how there's almost a diagonal relationship here? So, pretty cool work here. And I love the tennis ball. Just this one little circle. Just gorgeous. We have more. So here, 110,000 views, 438 retweets. And this is cool in the sense that, look at the background. The background is textured. Now, when you look at the work, though, it kind of looks like digital. Like, I don't see any texture in the pink here. So it's hard to tell. I think this is all digital. But you see here all of this rasterizing. So very cool, and just turning into these blobs of abstraction and just, I guess, increasing the amount of rasterizing with each frame there. Here also you see Miami at the bottom, and then it increasing the rasterizing, or sorry, the rasterizing, not the dithering, the rasterizing, and then here you see it turns into just this abstraction. 89 retweets, 34,000 views. Here is the website of Jean Provencher. I think born in 91, I believe. This is quite beautiful too. This looks like a This looks like that looked like a print. This also, I mean, hard to, this kind of looks like it's just been put on top, but I'm not sure if this is the actual, just a beautiful rendering on the wood here. Here is more. So this is on the Instagram of Jean Provencher. Look at that, 2,500 likes. And here, some stills. We see a cat. So doing very interesting, cool work here. Here's a Mona Lisa with, this is dithering. So the pixelated form, and we see the Mona Lisa done in many different versions here, just using two colors. And so just very cool work here. Test. And I love this bottom right corner. So there you go. This is cool too. So look at this. A few prints left. Shop link in replies. So I actually brought up the shop. Now you go, well, how was this made? I thought at first it was screen print. It is a Rezo. I went to the website. It's Rezo. And so this is pretty easy to produce. Let's put it this way. Once you have your idea, you probably even get someone else to do the Rezo, but if you have the photocopier, it's 2 layers. So just another example of what Rezo can do here, which again, for those that don't know, Rezo is kind of like the poor person's screen printing. It's basically color photocopying with, I think, good ink. Sold out at $60. So you could buy a Jean Provencher for only $60, but he's printing that off probably for less than $1. Maybe. Don't know that. Prints and bio. So here again, and another version. Before we saw it all lined up together, now we're seeing, right, or you see the GIF all lined up. Now we're seeing it as an animation, as a GIF animation, a physical, interestingly. And there's the frames underneath, always very analytical. Very interesting artist. Just a little more as we see, again, the rasterizing, the different kind of amounts of rasterizing. Very cool work there. And here, this is a physical, as you can see here. So printing on what looks like silver paper. Thank you for the inclusion. So this kind of looks like a print. Or at least like something that has just been formally printed, not necessarily Rezo. So very interesting there. Here is Kuro. As we get started, video games, this kind of looks like the beginning of a, kind of looks like PlayStation, right? So cool work from Kuro. Nice animation. Current bids, that looks like very cheap, but ends in 4 days, 8 hours. So there's one. Here's another. And so last I checked, Kuro was using a Sega hardware. It wasn't one of these ROM corrupting softwares. It was actually like real, quote unquote, hardware glitching. I don't know about these ones because they kind of look like they might be a different console. Let's continue here. Limbo. So we never looked at, kind of has a Miami Vice feel to it, which I quite like. And you see some nice dithering there in the background, kind of pixel art. Forgive the internet. Let's go from the start here. Let me actually do this. I dare. Part of the Arcadia show that we saw last few days. Kind of a murder scene. So a detective. So cool vibes here from Limbo. How much time do we have here? It's kind of sci-fi pixel art. I love the detective. Kind of reminds me of Bowie's Outside a little bit. Very cool music. You can imagine made by Limbo. Very cool. Love it. Love it. What is happening on this one? This must be sold out, and this was probably an edition of one. Okay, internet acting tricky, so we don't know what happened there. Let's go to Retro Manny and see if we can get this working. So kind of like a start screen of a game, but this time Retro Manny. Or a Retro Man, I should say. So, pretty amazing. Also from the Arcadia show. Very cool work here from Retro Manny. And here's another video. I mean, just great video. I'm not a huge video guy, but the video out of this scene I do love, actually, oftentimes. Here's Salawaki. Let's go. It's the beginning that I truly love. This is a great scene. Because who can't relate to this? A portrait of ourselves here, but it looks like the Salawaki character. Nice music. From the phone's perspective. I downloaded Tetris. Cool text. Okay. So we're testing our processor here, so then and then it has a hole in the barn and everything. So it's 256, so we definitely can't play, but play the whole thing, but check it out. Microaggressions and microtransactions. That is also part of the Arcadia show. Here is Dan Control. So this kind of looks like Dan Control doing a video game. So that's interesting. So applying the gradients to, again, we're kind of back to the video games basically as landscapes, or these virtual landscapes. We're back to painting en plein air, but painting the écran, painting the screen. Here's another one by Dan Control, combining elements, a dinosaur, a meteor, and we see the fire is being done with these gradients, and here Akira upside down. It's kind of a funny work here. By Dan Control. Here is Wozo. Let's see if we can get this to play. Okay. Love the pixelated shadow. This is 230 Tezos on Object. I think it's called Burnt Out, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of looks like, again, the office building vibe. So maybe an office worker throwing the laptop out the window. Burnt Out. Edition of one. Nice piece by Zwozo. And continuing on, we have Echo, also known as Sabato, the compressionist edit of the Corey Archangel homage to Mario Clouds. So just doing the waves and not any clouds, and looking like it's a little bit more rasterized. Dithered. A little more dithered. So fun GIF here, and this was sent to Made You Look. Not sure if that's the person who bought, of course, Sabato sold the work, I think, for 333 Tezos. Nice sale. The original. Nicholas Dietrich, new one, inspired by a maritime museum visit in Estonia, as well as Karim Safa's new color cycling tool. So I didn't realize there was that Karim Safa had made a color cycling tool. If you close your eyes and count down from 100, you can get to the alpha state. So let's see here. I thought I had that open. So here, this is, I thought I had it on object loaded up for me. But here is the work. And we saw that up close, this little cycling going on in the shadows. So cool work here from Nicholas Dietrich. I picked one up this morning, Alpha State. Here's Cassern, who made a splash at the Arcadia show, selling one of their editions sold for 115 or something Tezos after selling on primary for 15. So, you know, people excited about Cassern's work here. And here's more. Kind of looks like an office, a bird's eye view of an office or maybe a living room and someone sitting within their living space. Very, very, very interesting. Some more 4 a.m. Kind of looks like an apartment in Tokyo or something. Gozo, Don't Talk. So new work, animated digital collage, maybe some AI, stable diffusion. So another cool kind of surreal canvas here, surreal abstract from Gozo. Cool title, edition of 20 for 30 Tezos. And here is Yuri J. The season of mouse paintings is over, so I'm back to my textured routine. So new textured works here from Yuri J. So this is probably up close, probably a work in progress, as we're going to see. Here is more textured work. This is by Cider, of course. Very cool. Kind of love this portrait here. Kind of a crazy looking portrait, or just a fun looking portrait here. Beautifully distorted. Look at that background. Interesting piece from Cider. 10,000 views, 80 retweets. Nice work. Here is, as you see, Oblivion Fields. Picked up by Made You Look. Interesting. So this collage of glitched and data bent images, compression, color. So Sabato mentioned he called it the compressionist edit. And what's interesting about the whole compressionist thing, I find, is the word itself. Like when it first came out, it seemed like very hypey. But now that time has passed, it's like, I don't mind the word. I don't mind the word compressionist. Interestingly. So interesting. And here you see more compression because it is a bit of a thing. And so really nice textured work here from Oblivion Fields. Here's another one. As you see, they don't zoom in. So they just, I guess, fit the screen, so to speak, but hard to zoom in. But anyways, very nice work here. Created for art commissions, Absent Edition, created by Paul Who Is a Ghost, digital collage of data bent images with compression and color tuning applied, transparent background. So cool. So on white, this will appear differently. So this is at 65 Tezos. Here is Ile, who's been putting out actually quite a few interesting images of computers, and this was pretty cool. Just posting this GM. So nice textures and everything by Ile. Kind of love this piece by Wasteman Goldminovich. I picked one up. It is now sold out. And I just think it's kind of fun because it's just kind of contemporary, Fox News, Anchorman. I love the title. And then, Wasteman Goldminovich puts their own, interpretation on that. But I thought just a cool, modern, contemporary piece here. Edition of 7, that is on Tezos. Here is Uxine, also from Arcadia, seeking enjoyment in a maze with no exit. So playing with the video game UI, there is the Grim Reaper figure. This kind of looks like a PlayStation. And here, more Grim Reaper, but kind of turned into hexagons or something. There's a Great Fire. So interesting piece from Uxine, seeking enjoyment in a maze with no exit, edition of 22, now 65 Tezos. Here is Ezra Eslin. I think this was for 6529, as you can see here. .io GM voted for, hey, Donald, you're fired. So here, of course, looks like Jerome Powell, as you see from the name tag here, the chair of the Federal Reserve driving. And there is the president yelling. So a very topical. 16 missed calls. That is funny. And with drive-through and everything. So nice political satire from Ezra Eslin. Here is Canik Zapata. The only mistake in collecting art is not collecting it. Indeed. Especially when it's as reasonably priced as it is on the blockchain here in certain areas. So new cool work here from Canik Zapata, edition of 1, and this sold for 45 Tezos. Here's another one just posted on X, and so here again we see these beautiful images in the background. And these great textures, again, using Stable Diffusion, Python, and so AI and Python. Very interesting work. Mumbleboy, more kind of Apple, or I should say 1980s type vibes in the color scheme. Except here adding some pixels to it too. So fun work here. Of course, you see the physical and the digital being combined here, which is trademark for Mumbleboy. Interesting. Leaving some blank space here too. Nice work. The white is beautiful. Ambitious Amphibious, edition of 1, and that's sold to Absurdity for 19 Tezos. Ed Wood's Sunday Vibes. So not sure if that is copyright music, but kind of fun. Glitched out pixel art, again, or pesky, or however you want to describe it, but kind of looks pixelish. So interesting combo. From Ed Woods. Here is Francois Gamma with another one of these, what shall we call it? Just a whole bunch of different abstracts put on top of each other. Nice piece. Cool abstract. Animated abstract, let's call it. From Francois Gamma. Here's Element Lee with a very minimal work here. I love the minimalism. Not so easy. Expression and Abstraction, great title. So Element Lee continuing to dazzle. Very arty pixel art. Made in Versum, this is Sophia Ogor, but maybe this is the secret account, perhaps. I saw it online, so it's not so secret. But as you see here, just a whole bunch of U's. I think this is Sophia Ogor's other account, so cool work here and sold for almost nothing here. $1 for 1 Tezos 44, basically 94 cents to Absurdity. So Absurdity tearing up Tezos' blockchain with purchases here. Reblob. So this is David Nunn from the earlier tweet. So here is a dog, actually, and here it is, nice and glitched out. I thought this was actually pretty nice work. So all to say, cool work here. I guess some glitch, different kinds of renderings, and almost looking like a little bit ASCII, but not sure. Protective Aura GIF animated open edition. So this is 13, and so available, I think, for 13 Tezos or 10 Tezos on secondary. Bridget, New York City listing. So that's a cool piece. Nice piece. Koneko Travel Afternoon City. So this is posted on TikTok, as you can see, interestingly. So it's almost like pixel art by Koneko made for TikTok, interestingly. How did this do? 32,000 views. Pretty good, actually, with a link. Actually, that's really good. Renato GM. So kind of looking like a circuit board, but almost looking like a settlement at the same time. So kind of interesting here on a cliff or something. So Renato Marini. Here's Suji. Spell goes wrong as we approach the 1 hour mark. So cool, kind of haunted pixel work. I guess we could put this in the pixel art horror genre. And nice, love the green. Love that green fire animation. Very nice piece. Here's Max Drecker with a really nice animated abstract. Love these new works by Max Drecker. How are these doing? 22 retweets, pretty good. Here is Ranixteer. Love the color. White, pink, and yellow, and then so cool gradient work here from Ranixteer. Here's El Crego. Dome 3, and as you can see, I think we were seeing an earlier using math. Here it is. I'm very bad at math, but I enjoy visualizing it. So interesting animated abstract in black and white from El Crego. Dome 3. And here is Kazuhiro Ehara. Cool format. Kind of looks like 16 by 9, doesn't it? And so let's make sure this loads up properly here. There we go. That looks like a little bit higher res, but it's hard to tell, and it may have been somewhat compressed, so to speak, by, sometimes that happens because here it looks a little bit more high res, but you can't tell if that's the art. Anyways, cool work from Kazuhiro Ehara, like the ratio there of the canvas. Pete Ritchie, There Is No Truth. So more interesting AI artwork from Pete Ritchie as you can see, especially rewarding a close-up look here. Wow. And here's another one by Pete Ritchie. Structure is not static. It grows, mutates, and reorganizes. So more cool AI artwork from Pete Ritchie. Here is No Hygiene, of course, with some new work. This is listed on Taya. So nice, edgy AI. I'm getting used to No Hygiene's edgy work here. Look at this, 599 likes. No Hygiene. Let's see how big the audience is now. Almost 11,000. You're the product. Great piece here with the angel by No Hygiene. Here's Scamra, GM. Really nice path through a forest. AI artwork, stable diffusion. Look at these textures. Just continues to plow ahead. Here's Neural Divine with a couple of symbols as the title and some stairs that go up with a mirror. Interesting, surreal kind of artwork. I believe that's AI. That's Neural Divine edition of 10 and almost sold out at 15 Tezos each. And here is Ilya Barabin, GM, new. Very nice physical here of feet. Really nicely done, very original. And here's Ochiai Shohei, Fast and Furious. And this is cool here too, or interesting, how there is the scale. You see how big this is and how detailed everything is. And the wonderful textures in the red. Very cool. 105 retweets on the original. Let's just see how many views. 30,000 views. Here is Jake Pliskin. So more of these race car driver heads, totally original. Here's Moto Hero with some beautiful kind of comic book inspired, seemingly surreal works. Here's a black and white Moto Hero work. So nice work there. Bobachik Mattia, Horse Tamer. This is from 2025. So a new work by Bobachik Mattia. On Instagram. And that is your show, my friends, at the 1 hour and 2 mark. Thank you for joining me this Monday. And until next time, take care.